Hi, I'm Ian.
And I'm John. And this is Hot Tokes, a podcast about pop culture and about smoking herbs and about feelings. How are you, Ian?
I'm pretty good. Had a long day, but it's
Yeah.
over. Kind of late, but
I didn't work today, so it was pretty chill. I did pick up Avengers Endgame on Blu-ray because that came out just recently, and I was itching to watch it again. And it was good second time through, though I have some issues with the Blu-ray has a separate disc that's a special features disc, and it is very slight. There's a handful of featurettes, some deleted scenes, and a gag reel, and that's more or less it. There is a one commentary track on the main movie, but I just felt if you're gonna give me this whole other disc to have in my disc wallet, give me a little more. Put a little more effort into it. If why can't they just fit it all in one Blu-ray? Well, I guess it is a 3-hour movie, but anyway, speaking of 3-hour movies, today we're going to talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Ian and I saw it when it first was out in theaters in the U.S. I know it just recently came out in some other countries, so maybe this will be a little more up to date for you guys. But we had some very different opinions coming out of it, but also we were at a very different standpoint going in, which is really important for this movie. It's one of those movies where you need to know some historical context to appreciate it. And I went in blind. I had seen a little bit of one of the trailers. I think it was autoplayed on Twitter without any volume or anything. So, I really had very little idea. And I was kind of excited to go into a movie blind because I hadn't in a while.
yeah.
But it ended up being to my deficit because I just, couldn't appreciate a lot of bits about it.
Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know what Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is, it is a movie by Quentin Tarantino, his 9th movie, and it stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt as fictional characters, Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth, respectively. And it's kind of a coming-of-age tale, middle-age crisis set in Hollywood in the 1960s. And as John was talking about, how it came into your deficit, not knowing about the movie.
Yeah. So there's the Manson family, Charles Manson, and their murderous past. The fact that they murdered Sharon Tate is a big part of this movie, and you kind of need to know that to understand some of the tension and to understand some of what's going on. And not the whole thing, but definitely certain elements of the plot leading up towards the big final scene definitely plays into that. But since I didn't know to look out for Charles Manson, and I wasn't born when this happened, so I wasn't super familiar with the whole Manson family stuff. I haven't watched any of the documentaries, so I really didn't know what was going on with some of that stuff. But there's a lot of great acting stuff. It takes place in Hollywood, of course, and Leonardo DiCaprio is going through his career as a TV movie star, and he's kind of having a bit of a midlife crisis almost, kind of realizing that he's getting old and the industry has moved on in a way, but then kind of finding his place in this new Hollywood, and a lot of that's super enjoyable. I really love all of that, and Brad Pitt as his stunt double, he also has just a lot of great moments. Really enjoyed all of Brad Pitt's stuff.
Yeah, and you were talking about how there's this tension in the movie. Margot Robbie's in this movie, and she plays Sharon Tate. And there is a tension for people who are aware of the history of Sharon Tate in that year, 1969, in Hollywood. So the whole movie, whenever the movie cuts to her, and she's kind of enjoying life and doing her regular day-to-day thing. For you, John, you probably found that a lot very boring.
Yeah, it just, I didn't know why she was there. It felt a little pretentious. There was a moment where she goes into the movie theaters to watch herself in a movie, and one part that was a little strange was that they had actual Sharon Tate footage, it was actual scenes from her movies. So Margot Robbie goes to the theater and says, "Oh, can I get in for free because I'm in the movie?" But then when she's watching it, it's a different human being up on the screen. And since I still I wasn't totally sure what was going on, it was a strange moment. But then also just us sitting and watching her in the movie theater having this weird character moment just felt a little masturbatory, and like especially since I didn't understand why she was there in the context of the show or in the movie. It was a little odd.
Yeah, and for me, growing up in a household that really enjoys American history, I studied a lot of American history. Growing up into high school and college, I always knew about the Sharon Tate story, the Charles Manson and the Manson murders, and it was I was always waiting and expecting some horrible things to happen whenever the hippie showed up in the movie, whenever Sharon Tate's character was on screen. And we can probably talk into spoilers for the last part of the movie at this point.
Well, let's give it just let's wait a minute before we get into the final stuff, because the ending's kind of there's a big payoff at the end, and I want to maybe save that before we get into spoiler territory. I just want to say I came out this movie, I would rate it like a B minus. I really had trouble with why Margot Robbie's character was in the movie. It was like very long and drawn out, very big payoff at the end, which we'll get to in a minute. But it was definitely enjoyable. I liked hanging out with the characters in the world, and the world looked great. The sets were incredible. All the set dressing on like the streets, where they totally made it look the right period. Like huge amounts of Hollywood were dressed up really well, and that was super fun. And certain other Easter egg characters, kind of small roles, like Bruce Lee pops up, and some other people you'd recognize if you're familiar with that era of Hollywood. It was kind of fun to see. They go to the Playboy Mansion. There's a party, and there's a couple of familiar faces there.
Yeah. My opinion of the movie is I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoy every Quentin Tarantino movie with the exception of Jackie Brown, but I've only seen that movie once. Maybe I need to see a rewatch, but I really enjoyed this movie. I don't think it's his best movie. I think he's got a lot more higher quality movies that anybody can really enjoy. But I really enjoyed this movie. I wouldn't give it like a you said B minus, but I wouldn't give it like an A plus. But it's definitely 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I would definitely rewatch this movie if I get a chance to rewatch it anytime soon.
Oh, but just a side note, did you see that there was a Sharon Tate movie with Hilary Duff?
I did. I heard it was like awful. I heard it was absolutely terrible because both the movies with Sharon Tate involved are bastardizing history a bit, but I heard the Hilary Duff one just bastardize it in the worst way, and they really just absolutely ruined that character, that person of Sharon Tate and her history and her legacy.
I'm kind of curious to watch it, but I probably will never watch it.
Yeah, I probably won't either. So, should we talk about the final bit of the movie, the part that kind of makes or breaks everyone's opinion on the movie in general?
Yeah, so I think just fair warning, it's spoilers from here on out. Skip ahead, maybe we'll put in a time code in the down below.
Skip ahead to this time.
Just look in the description. You'll see a thing to click. I won't put it in the video. I'm not ready for that yet, but maybe we'll get there one day.
Yeah. So the movie kind of wraps up really quickly at the end of the second act, which is probably the biggest flaw of the movie. It kind of just speeds through a lot of the events of Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth, but it cuts to that night when the Manson family raids Sharon Tate's house and stabs her and her unborn child and all of her friends that were sleeping over. If you've seen some of other Quentin Tarantino's movies like Inglourious Bastards, you know that he loves to bastardize history in a way that makes the movie more fun. He cares less about the historical facts and more about making the movie an enjoyable experience, and rightfully so. When the Manson family raids Rick Dalton's house instead of Sharon Tate's, they're met with their demise at the hands of Cliff Booth, aka Brad Pitt, and his dog.
Extreme violence.
Very extreme.
A lot of extreme violence, like in Inglourious Bastards. Kill Bill obviously had a lot of that. Django Unchained, of course, had a lot of blood.
Pulp Fiction. I think all of his movies are extremely, extremely violent.
Which was very cathartic. I was laughing. I think a lot of people were laughing. It was that kind of really over the top, shockingly violent, but constantly, like, it lasted a while. Brad Pitt was slamming this girl's face into a whole lot of things over
there was
a long sequence of
a dog biting
smashing
someone's
her
balls
face
off, and
long screams of pain with his guard dog biting people's balls off.
Leonardo DiCaprio brings out a flamethrower at the end.
Though it was weird because the girl that he flamethrowers is standing in his pool, and you just want to, like, she's disoriented. She got smashed in the face. She's all bloodied and crazy, but she's getting set on fire while standing in a pool, and she doesn't, like, dive in the pool. And it's just kind of, it was just like a weird choice, in my opinion, to have her be in water but catch fire. And anyway, but it was super fun. And so Brad Pitt's character was tripping on acid during this, which is great. He got an acid dip cigarette from that, like from them, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's a very Chekhov's gun a little bit.
Yeah, he leaves it at Leo's place, and says, "Oh, hey, can I stash this here for like a rainy day?" And he goes, "Sure." And I thought that Leonardo DiCaprio's character was gonna accidentally smoke it. That's what I thought it was gonna be like. Oh, he accidentally trips because he smokes his cigarette because he didn't realize he was drunk, and then something happens there. But no, Brad Pitt pulls it out and is like, yeah, that was a great time. And he takes his dog for a walk. He comes back, and he's
all loopy.
Yeah, the hippies break in, and he's just like laughing because he doesn't really know if it's real, and he's got a great control of the room because he is kind of just on this different level.
And let's just say, like, the fictional character Cliff Booth, what a great guy. Like, the best friend you could ever ask for. Like,
potential wife murderer. He maybe murdered his wife, but we don't know that.
Right. I'm not saying he might have been a good husband or a good person, but
and she also seemed kind of shitty. She was really annoying. I'm not saying like it's okay that she maybe got murdered, but like I'm saying that it's not as bad.
Well, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is...
But who knows? They don't show what happens. They just kind of allude to the fact that he, like... A lot of people say he killed his wife, but it's kind of up in the air.
I was for sure assumed that he was just going to get sick of Leonardo DiCaprio's shit at one point and like just say, no, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. You keep making me do all this hard work and
yeah, he drives him around. He takes care of his place, like does repairs on his antenna and stuff. He's just kind of his
there's like the part where he's like,
for the most part,
I don't think
chauffeur, but also best friend. There's
a point towards the end of the second act where like Leonardo DiCaprio is like, I don't think I can keep you as a stunt double anymore. Like, I think this is where our ways are going to part. And I for sure he was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to help you out while you're being attacked by these hippies or whatever. And plus being on acid, I was certain that he was like not going to help.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because it didn't seem like he was going to put up a fight. I thought they were going to do that thing where maybe he gets stabbed and looks down and is like, "What, is this real? I'm stabbed." Like one of those kind of moments. But instead, he has this fat can of dog food, and I love all of the shots of him slopping out the dog food. Like it's just this. It's almost like cranberry sauce where it stays in the shape of the can. And he has he's trained his dog so well, the best boy, and he shakes the can upside down to let it like slop out. Yeah, it's really great sound, and then like slap into the dog bowl. But he has a can of food because he was trying to feed his dog when they break in, and the first thing he does is he just throws it like a football and pelts the Asian girl right in the face, which
Her
is why
face
she's
dents in.
yeah, and she starts screaming and just like running, like flailing around. She like runs out the window and ends up in the pool because
Yeah.
she's just like blinded.
And the guy, and he's got a gun pointed at his head by another hippie, and like he just goes, and like the dog just knows that's the cue to like just go for that guy's balls right away.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It's so much fun, and it almost makes the 2.5 hours leading up to that worth it. There's a lot of fun moments leading up to that, but there's a lot of a lot of waiting too,
I think,
in my opinion. But it was a fun world to be in. But I don't know. It could have been a little shorter, in my opinion.
I think another reason why I really enjoyed this movie more so is it's just it feels so good to watch a movie that's as well crafted as this movie. I feel like a lot of movies nowadays, especially
Great looking movie.
A lot of the higher budget movies now, they don't really have a voice to them. It's just kind of a storyboard come to life and not a message made by a certain person like the director. And it just felt good. They don't really like make movies that way anymore, at least not big budget Hollywood movies.
Yeah, it definitely had a unique vibe. It felt different than the most of what's on the big screen these days. So it was very refreshing and just kind of fun. The humor was great. I really enjoyed Leonardo DiCaprio's character. They're filming like a Western, a pilot for a new show, and he's the bad guy. And he flubs his lines because he's hungover. He's been kind of drinking too much in a bit of a rut. And he's so like upset with himself. He goes back to his trailer and he like flinging a glass and he's just like screaming at himself. There's some great cinematography in that trailer scene when he's like looking in the mirror and then it's like the mirror is looking at us or we're looking right in his face. But anyway, there's some great cathartic moments there. And I kind of feel that like I'm a theater kid and I've had my moments in high school and college theater where I screwed something up and I get that frustration. And that's also one of the things about this movie that, not really an original opinion, I heard this in another review, but it made sense, is that you definitely, and I heard some other people talking about it and they were saying they enjoyed it for this reason, is that if you are in that kind of Hollywood world or if you're kind of a movie person, then you like really appreciate it because there's a lot of like inside baseball type stuff. But if you're not necessarily part of that world, it might not be quite as enjoyable. Not like bad or anything, but just if you really are into the whole how movies are made and kind of know the big names and how things work, it is a lot more fun. I feel like this is a movie for movie makers, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, or at least like if you are a fan of Tarantino, like a huge fan.
And I always feel like, it didn't affect my opinion that much, but when a movie's about making a movie, or this happens in theater a lot, like a lot of people write plays about playwrights, like the characters in the play are involved in theater in some way, and it's like, I get that you kind of write about what you know, and that can be a good thing, but it feels a little like shallow in a way, I guess. Again, not like it didn't bother me for the most part, but I could see how I probably would have liked it more if I was in that world or something.
Yeah, so that was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, our thoughts about it.
Any other moments you wanted to bring up? Any other...
You kind of already mentioned like the sets. Like the movie looked so authentic, and more authentic than I've ever seen any movie in a set. Period. I think it felt so authentic and alive, and it didn't feel like a set at any point. It never, unless they were actually in a set. But anytime they were just driving down the highway or walking down the street, it just felt like I was actually looking through a window. more so than any other movie. Like Goodfellas is kind of set around the same time. Like Apollo 13's kind of set around the same time, and it still feels like we made this movie look like this time period, but this actually felt like that time period.
How did you feel about the girl actress, the like 13-year-old or whatever she was?
I was for sure convinced that was like, oh, that's like this
such and such's daughter. It's
or like, oh, this is Jamie Lee Curtis or whatever as a child actor.
Some famous
person, when
actress
they were
that would have
kid.
been that age at that time,
right?
Oh yeah, I don't know who it was supposed to be. There's this young girl who's part of this TV pilot, this Western that they were filming, and she is incredibly smart and kind of talks about the philosophy of acting and how it's the actor's job to just do their best and give it their all and take care of themselves so they can give their best performance and strive for perfection, but they'll never actually reach it, but it's the pursuit that matters. And she kind of inspires Leo to do better and be better as an actor and like remember that this is like a special craft and that it's a kind of privilege to be able to do it. And he ends up doing some wonderful acting, in part inspired by her. But I thought that she was a little silly. Like her character was a little cartoony, just because she was like so adulty smart. It just felt weird. I don't know. Like maybe there was somebody like that, or maybe I don't know. Some young kids are prodigies, but it just seemed a little too much for me. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about another great moment was the tense moment when Brad Pitt's character goes to the ranch and he goes into the house and it's kind of set like a horror movie where the place looks gross and disgusting and
that's another moment where if you know that that's like the Manson cult, it adds another layer that I was kind of missing.
Right. But all the hippies are...
it's definitely like built to be tense. And it's like, what's going on here? Yeah.
Yeah, and all the hippies are like standing there waiting for him inside. And he's like, oh yeah, he's just around the corner. This guy, he's just around the corner. And
yeah, the guy who like owns this place that they're all squatting that they used to shoot movies at. So Brad Pitt's character knows who this guy is. But there's all these hippies squatting here, so he's like, I'm just going to check in on this guy that owns the place. And they're like, he's asleep. They're all just like, oh, he's asleep because we have our, like, movie time later, and he'll get tired if he doesn't take his nap. And it's just like, that sounds really weird. And then, but yeah, he goes in.
Yeah, he walks around the corner, and he's, like... around the side and he goes to give him a shake to wake him up and he wakes up and he's fine and he's like I'm trying to get some sleep.
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, it's like such a weird ending to the
like,
scene.
I gotta take a nap so I can have movie time later with my like weird Dakota Fanning girlfriend because I was Dakota Fanning.
Another noteworthy actress and
there's the girl who is in the new season of Stranger Things.
It's Uma Thurman's daughter.
Yeah,
it's let me pull
the one who works in the ice cream shop.
Chips Ahoy, or not Chips Ahoy, Scoops Ahoy.
Yeah, and I was wondering, because I know there's that whole thing where I only heard secondhand from things mentioning it that, like for Kill Bill, Quentin Tarantino like actually choked Uma Thurman for like a scene. And maybe it was weird, and I guess either Uma Thurman's kid like doesn't care, or they're whatever on good terms. I just guess that means that it didn't. No hard feelings there, know.
Maybe, I mean, if she's an adult, she can make her own decisions. But...
Yeah. But I would feel like if there was bad blood, that maybe she wouldn't like do a movie with the guy who choked her mom. But I don't know. Maybe. I guess that means it's fine.
Who knows? Yeah, I think that's all there is really to talk about. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
I mean,
every part.
There's just a lot of dry moments where not a lot happens, which is most Tarantino movies. So There, a lot of points where people just stop and talk.
Oh, there actually was some controversy over the depiction of Bruce Lee, because he does make him seem like a little bit of like a hard-headed kind of doofus, and he talks a big game and then just gets thrown into a car. And some people were kind of upset, thinking that maybe it was a little disrespectful, but Quentin Tarantino was like, look, I didn't like just make this up. I was kind of basing this off of like firsthand stories on Bruce Lee and stuff like that. But I know there was some people were upset on how Bruce Lee was portrayed. Yeah. And there's also just some controversy and question over like how good of an actual fighter he was. I know some MMA people talk about how, Bruce Lee would fight like an MMA fighter. These fighters, he would just get like thrown down, and like he was kind of a smaller guy. But I don't know enough to know. He was very important for the martial arts world, and like did a lot of great stuff. So I'm not trying to like take that away, but I know there's some discussion over if Bruce Lee was like this crazy good martial artist, or kind of more of like it was more of like a show. I don't know. Something to look into. I know there's probably a lot of stuff out there that I'll have to look into on that.
Yeah. And there's always controversy about every Tarantino movie. He always does a lot of things that upset
Why you gotta you do so much blood and violence? 'Cause it's fun, Janet. It's fun. Get it?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. So definitely, I like worth a watch for sure. But do the homework. Know about Sharon Tate and Charles Manson. Know your history before going in, because that'll help.
Yeah. So I think this is the time of the hour where we pull out our apparatuses and intake herbs into our lungs.
Yeah, the Hot Tokes smoke break, brought to you by your corporation here.
Yeah. Insert brand.
Yeah, and I'll probably throw in some beats or something for you to chill to. I do some beatboxing, some loopstation stuff, so you'll be hearing some of that. And once that's over, then that means we've accomplished the smoke break, and we'll come back to talk about some other stuff. So see you in a couple minutes.
Skyrim adventures past couple days?
I just got to about where I was in the main story on the 360. I'm about to make peace between the Imperials and the Stormcloaks. I just had the little council where they agreed to a truce so that we can capture the dragon in Whiterun. But I've just kind of stopped there for a minute. I haven't picked it up again just because I've been watching 3-hour movies too much.
Yeah. A lot of movies.
Yeah. Haven't really... I mean, I played a touch of Totally Accurate Battle Simulator because there was just an update for that. They added the Renaissance units, which are pretty fun. So I screwed around with that for a little bit, played a little bit of the campaign. I do really enjoy that game. It's fun to... It's a fun one because you can play it or you can kind of just like set it up and watch it. So you have varying levels of work you have to put in to enjoy the game. Like you can, during the fight, like take over a unit and actually be in there playing it if you want, or once you set it up you can kind of just watch and maybe even put it on slow-mo and smoke a bowl and just have it going while you're doing other stuff. Put it on super slow-mo, just have it going in the background.
Yeah, man.
I played Euro Truck Simulator I put a few hours into it anyway, so I like boring in games sometimes.
Yeah, the tabs like Renaissance pieces are pretty crazy. Like the tank.
Yeah, it's
really,
like
really
Leonardo da Vinci's tank, and
it's like him inside it too.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's spinning around like one of those at the fair, those ones where you kind of stick to the wall because it spins around so fast. It almost looks like that too. It's like a little almost like flat gazebo thing.
Quick tangent.
It's
about,
crazy
about that thing. I forgot what its name is right now, but it appeared in a fair scene in Stranger Things season 3 towards the end. And it was so nostalgic for me because of I used to have one of those at the Old Town Fair I used to be in my own hometown. But like that thing's sketchy. I'm just trying to say about it. That thing's like I always feel sketchy being inside it.
Yeah,
because it's so old. Because like it's from the 80s. It's like this thing has probably never been properly repaired or whatever in like 10-20 years.
It's kind of weird because it's like. It's almost like a drug because you're like going in to like feel the rush, like you're up stuck against the wall.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's almost an intimate thing that you're doing in public with all of these strangers. Like you're in this weird, dark, enclosed, spinning thing, and across from you is just like random other people. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that's just part of being in the world. It's like just being allowed to enjoy things. And
yeah, I mean, that's what the movie theater is too.
Yeah.
You're just kind of experiencing these emotions with a bunch of people around you.
True. I prefer live theater for some of that, though you don't really like hoot and holler in live theater or whatever, but that's part of the good thing. But sometimes, I don't know, I'm happy to watch movies at home most of the time. But the big screen, the loud sound is great. Like the movie theaters are great, but I don't always love other people, and it's not always their fault. Part of it is because like I might want to like kind of like say something to you if we're watching a movie together, or also if it's a lot of people. We're really tall boys here on Hot Tokes.
We are tall boys.
We're big boys, and so I always, if people are sitting behind me, try to slouch as much as I can. It's just kind of, I'm always aware of how many people I'm in front of.
Like, we want good seats. We want to sit kind of in the middle-ish, but like, we don't
tend
want to
sit
piss
like
people off who are like
middle,
behind us.
horizontally and vertically, like pretty much dead center, maybe a little closer to screen side.
Yeah, and then you also feel bad if there's people in front of you, because if you have to slouch, then your knees are touching their seat and bumping up against their seat, and you're always like bumping into them.
Yeah.
And they always give you that like, dude, like what the fuck?
And I want to eat my candy that I smuggled in, but it's in these crinkly bags, and I feel bad. Like, there's a quiet moment, and I'm chewing, and I like just stop chewing because it's a dead silent moment, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
trying to just like wait until somebody starts talking again in the movie so I can chew again.
Dude, the best thing to do when you're at the movies and it's like not super packed, so you have like enough space, is when you like you and I will sit and then we'll be like one chair apart, so the middle chair's like the snack dump, like you use the wedge of the seat to hold up
and
the
again a
popcorn or
big boy
whatever.
strat because it's also leg room, like that's excess leg spillover
Yes.
for us.
Cross the legs. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, movie theater experience is fun. Drive-in theater experience is also fun, and I feel lucky that we live in a place that still has one nearby, but feel unlucky that I do not right now have a vehicle to enjoy them in.
Right.
But
there was one, another one in my hometown
Yeah.
that is no longer, but I saw the
many
first
movies there.
Transformers there.
I saw the first.
God, I can't even remember, but I've definitely went there a good
I
dozen
saw the
times.
first 3 Transformers there.
Nice.
I'm not saying I liked the Transformers movies, but like I was also we lived really close to each other in proximity in that town, and God, I watched so many movies at that theater. I'm sad to see it go, but I watched the first movie I remember watching there was Inspector Gadget with Matthew Broderick. Yeah.
For me, I think most or a lot of my times there were before I started remembering most things. Like I'm not sure what most of the movies I saw there were because it was definitely in my youth. But I think maybe a Star Wars.
Whoa.
Maybe.
I don't think I ever saw Star Wars there. I think I saw the Star Wars at the other theater.
But yeah, funky spot. But it was kind of magical in a way because there's the little snack booth where there's also the projectors, and it's this like little building in the middle of the field, and you kind of go in and it's got this weird vibe because it's not like super nice in there, but it was kitschy and a little
and that was kind of the fall of them,
like a
is
little
the fall of them is that like the drive-in theaters don't rein in a lot of money, and so you can't like keep the place looking nice and updated, and you can't afford the nice new digital projectors, which
the screen was kind of falling apart too. There was a lot of little spots.
There was that rusty playground, which I remember not being rusty and pretty new. And then I just remember like it just always just sitting there, and like after the rain and the other elements, it's just unfortunate to see it slowly go away, that drive-in theater. But I'm glad we still have one nearby. I definitely have been there a few times, but
it is a weird, like I kind of get why maybe not that many exist with big home screen TVs now, because in their heyday in the drive-in movie era you didn't have great TVs at home, but now would you rather have to sit in your car and like listen to it over the radio and stuff but have a big screen, or just be in your home and have like a 50-inch?
I understand the drive-in is probably the most least comfortable movie theater experience you'll ever have physically, like especially like in the summer when the mosquitoes
Definitely
are
the
out.
most least physically comfortable. Yeah.
But I think there's just like something about it. It's like that old Americana, like when I picture the drive-in theaters, I picture like diners. I picture like that old American feel. There's just something very patriotic about it.
Yeah, back when America was great.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm saying though. Like back when like the American image was just like you like enjoying life, working hard, and then just going home and doing whatever you want to do and just enjoying fun things. That was like the image.
Something that I always thought was fun that we don't have in modern times is those almost restaurants where everything was in like a little microwave door and you just take stuff out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something about that I always wanted to have that. It kind of reminds me of those sushi restaurants where there was one in Legion where there's just a big track that they go along by all the booths. And you can just take things off of the
Yeah, there was one here
line and
years ago.
for like a little bit.
It was awesome.
In the mall.
Those are cool.
And they just charge you for what you take. Big conveyor belt. That was always kind of fun. I never actually went, but I should have.
Yeah,
looked fun. Yeah,
it was fun. It was like $3 for a green plate and $5 for a red plate, and then they just tally up your plates.
Yeah,
very smart.
My favorite Asian food place though is the Chinese food buffet in my hometown, where there's just a ton of options. You just pay to get in, and it's all you can eat buffet. There's actually two in this town, and they're both fine, but one of them has a lot more going on, and it's just, you can just get so roasted, go in, crush some plates, have a little bit of everything. Because that's the thing with Chinese food, when you get it delivered, you get locked into just a couple options. It's like, well, it's going to be spare ribs, and I'm going to have a lot of them, and that's okay. Or like, well, it's General Tso's chicken, and that's it. But at the buffet, it's like, ooh, I can have like my little taste of General Tso, and my little barbecue spare rib, and my little like orange chicken, and my egg roll, and my spring roll, and I can just like have every little thing, and like I get some lo mein and some fried rice, and cover all the bases. There's no regret. And you can eat like the same amount and still have all the different options, which is love Chinese food buffets. And munching on food.
Yeah.
Big muncher. I'm afflicted with the munch.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Definitely a snack boy, especially after bong. It's a big weakness. I'm always like trying to decide what my next snack will be.
Yeah. I haven't been to a buffet in a while. Not since last Christmas. My family went to the Chinese buffet, which apparently, like, I thought it was like, oh, haha, like like Christmas Story, and my family always loved watching A Christmas Story every year, so it was like, that's kind of what we were trying to go for. But apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently Chinese places are always stupid busy on Christmas.
Yeah.
Like
isn't it like a Jewish thing to do that?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it. It's just like their busiest time of the year is Christmas.
Yeah.
So we got to the Chinese buffet place, and it was packed. and I even saw people I knew. I was like, oh, there's that person. Oh, there's this person. Like,
yeah, it's a whole community event.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, there is a bus up there, but it's 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. We could go up if we get the same day off, and then just go to the buffet from 9 to 5. We just stay in there all day.
I would
and
rather
they definitely won't kick us out.
I'd rather just Uber to one that's a little closer at any
time.
Oh
yeah, there's probably one around here. Yeah. I know. Oh yeah. I think I've seen one, but
the one I went to Christmas is like 2 towns over. It's not that far away.
Yeah. Well, we should make that happen.
Yeah.
A little buffet run.
Yeah.
A little too late now, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We record these so far. Past couple have been pretty late at night, so a little too late to do some stuff. Not too late to still talk about some other things we've been doing, like other video games we've been playing in Skyrim. You were watching Endgame on Blu-ray, talking a bit about...
You said you were doing some Mario Maker.
Oh, yeah. I just got back into Mario Maker, wanting to finishing up a level. I've only posted 1 level so far. I haven't checked the stats on it lately, but... It had like 5% clear rate. I made it pretty challenging.
Next time you should pull out your Switch so you can give out your code, your creator name, or do you just have? How does it work? Do you have like a code for the maps, or can you just say like your
if anybody's
Switch
interested,
name on Mario Maker? I could put it in the thing, underneath the description.
Yeah, I could also just like say it like now, and then you could edit it or not, or probably not. Who cares?
that means I have to do
That's
more.
right.
And that's not what this podcast is about.
I understand
in
that.
my like, at least where I'm coming from, I'm thinking like,
Yeah, we'll just post it down.
This is much more relaxed than.
If anyone's interested, I'll post it in the link. But yeah, I'm working on a new one. It's again themed like my last one, and I'm trying to go for really hard but not too hard. If anyone plays Mario Maker, it's like I'm kind of going for like expert but not super expert, but not normal difficulty. Just like right around expert, kind of hard, not too hard. Like fun, hard in a fun way. At least that's what I try for. Like hard. My ideal of hard is if you fail it the first time but can do it the next time, that's the right level. I don't want, I have to keep trying this over and over and over and over again to get it right the first time.
Yeah, like the very specific timing jumps and like little like twirly jump things, or the maps where it's like you pretty much have to do the one exact motion to get through, where it's like lots of quick jumps and running,
crouch jumps, grabbing, the spin jumps,
and like the
shell jumps.
And those can be fun. It can be fun to just figure out the exact like path you have to do, almost like Cloudberry Kingdom, like that kind of really fast style platforming. But it can also feel a little less fun when you feel kind of forced into one specific track of motion. But it can be cool when you like complete it, that you just kind of like learn this however long, this couple minute routine of buttons, like when you get the map like in your bones, you know, and you just are feeling where the jumps are and stuff. That it can be satisfying, but not if there's parts that are like punishingly hard and you just like get sent back. And there's a fine line, but it also depends on what you're looking for in your Mario. Some people like it rough, you know.
I've also been playing a bit more Apex again still, because they just dropped solo mode for like a limited 2-week thing, which is fun.
Nice.
It's really hard. Like I've been having fun with like the team based multiplayer games, because I feel like I'm fitting a role. But when you do solos, like it's really sweaty. It's like really, really sweaty.
Yeah, I feel like I prefer solo. Because I hate talking to people, and I don't I don't know the meta.
Has
like
this
I don't
podcast
know
been about movies or ourselves this whole time?
I don't know like the meta for like Apex or Fortnite. So when I've like tried it out, I don't want to have teammates that are like getting pissed at me because I'm like just figuring it out for the first time, you know. And so I just don't want to get into it because I don't want to like deal with other people's trying to win the game when I'm just trying to screw around or whatever.
Yeah, and I like the team-based multiplayer games. It's not that I don't like playing competitively. I actually enjoy playing competitively, but like as a team, you know. Not necessarily sports games, though. I don't play too many sports games. I like MLB The Show, but it's probably about as far as like a Quidditch World Cup.
I like Mario Tennis. I have the Game Boy Color, like the OG one I played a lot of, and some of I think the Game Boy Advance one. I've been thinking about getting the one on the Switch, but I honestly am kind of fine with having the older one on my 2DS. But that's I had NBA Jam on Sega Genesis when I was young. That was a fun sports game. And also in college, I had some friends who were into Chell, and NHL to be exact.
Yeah.
And so I definitely got into a little stick and puck action my freshman year in college, but that's mostly it. Oh, well, actually, I also have on my PSP, I have a FIFA game, and it's a German copy. A friend from boarding school gave it to me who's from Germany, and so I just have like this random German copy of like FIFA 09 or whatever it was. And I did play a bit of that. Like soccer games are like, they're kind of easy to get into. They're not like, it's not like football games where you're like, what are these plays? I don't understand what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm not familiar with football enough to play a football game. But with soccer, it's like, well, this button's
kick the
pass,
ball.
this button's shoot.
Yeah.
You know, you're not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could never play like a sports manager game though. I can't even like think about
Like
those.
MLB The Show.
Yeah, MLB The Show, but there's also like the manager simulator games
Like
where it's
XCOM.
like, well, like I don't even know if there's that much gameplay. It's like a sports manager simulator where you're just like making decisions and stuff, and you're just
Yeah, like the fantasy
running
football the game.
yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
You're running the franchise or whatever. And so you're trading and you're deciding this, that, and the other thing. But those games exist, and there's a market for them, I guess. I'm sure sports games are still pretty big, right? They still make them a lot.
Yeah. They're very
yeah.
popular still because people like sports.
Yeah. Sports never really clicked with me, but that's a topic for another day. I feel like we can get into sports. Maybe we'll do a sports podcast where we talk about our really great history in sports. I mean, I played a good amount of sports. You know, growing up, you get kind of pushed into that stuff, but
yeah,
and there's probably some stories there.
Yeah, for another podcast. We've been chatting it up for a good hour now.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Shit. Yeah, it's been a late recording.
Smoked a big bong bowl.
Yeah, well, thanks for listening again, everybody.
Hey guys, I have been John, and
this has been Ian,
and this was Hot Tokes, and we'll see you again soon. Click the links in the description for various social medias and such.
Yeah, hit that like and or subscribe and or bell or whatever it is on whatever outlet we're sharing this. Spread the word if you like it, and have a good night or day. Bye-bye.
Bye.